السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وإن تخفوا ما في صدوركم أو تبدوه يعلمه الله. وقال عليه الصلاة والسلام: إن الله لا ينظر إلى صوركم ولا إلى أموالكم ولكن ينظر إلى قلوبكم وأعمالكم. أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. صدق الله وصدق رسوله الكريم وَنَحْنُ عَلَى ذَلِكَ مِنَ الشَّاهِدِينَ. My dear respected elders and brothers, my dear respected sisters, and my beloved children, firstly, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again out of His infinite mercy and His continuous favors upon us, that He has spared our lives, that we are in a very sacred time. We are in the month of Dhul Hijjah, the month of pilgrimage, the month of sacrifice. It is one of the 4 sacred months in Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala having mentioned in the Holy Quran, Inna iddata shuhuri inda Allahi fi kitabillahi yawma khalaqa as-samawati wal ard. Inna iddata shuhuri inda Allahi 12 shahran في كتاب الله يوم خلق السماوات والأرض منها 4 حرم أو كما قال الله تعالى. That certainly the number of months with Allah are 12. The day which have been so ordained by Him, the day He created the heavens and the earth, from amongst them 4 are sacred. We are the month of Dhul Qa'dah, which have passed. We are in the month of Dhul Hijjah, which is one also of those 4 sacred months. So it is indeed a favor from Allah. And these sacred months, it establishes something to us. It teaches us the honor and the value of time. It teaches us the honor of human beings. It teaches us that we must show respect to one another, that the blood and the wealth that is there, it is something that is sacred. As the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam had mentioned in the hadith, Inna a'radakum, that certainly your honor, wa amwalakum, and your wealth, it is haramun ka hurmati yawmikum hadha fi shahrikum hadha fi baladikum hadha, or kama qala alayhi salatu wasalam. The Prophet mentioned that certainly your honor and your wealth, it is something that is sacred, just like the sacredness of the day and of the time and of the city. And he said that in the month of Dhul Hijjah, on the day of Arafah, in the sacred city of Mecca. So just as that time and that place was considered sacred and honored, in a like manner, the wealth and the lives of people are also considered to be sacred with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My dear respected brothers and sisters, it is important for us as believers that whatever we do, we be conscious that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is looking at us. He is knowing very well each and everything that we do. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly informs us in Holy Quran, In tukhfu ma fi sudurikum aw tubduhu ya'lamhu Allah. That whether, if it is that you would conceal that which is in your hearts, or if it is that you would make it open and apparent, Allah, He surely knows of it. So therefore, we need to develop the quality of sincerity in all of our amals. We are reminded because time and time again, we are reminded that we need to be sincere. So it is important for us as believers that we become conscious that Allah, He is looking at us at all times. That Allah, He is hearing us and He is knowing exactly what we are saying at all times. And that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He knows that which is in the heart. We cannot fool Allah. We cannot be deceptive to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and doing one thing in one way and then another way, thinking that Allah doesn't know. We have to be truthful, that we have to be sincere at all times and all places. And this now it's spread through our entire lives. In all our acts of ibadah, and the time that we will spend with our family, we need to be conscious of this and be sincere in the dealing with them. And the time that you will spend at the business place, in the market, at school, at play, we need to be conscious of this, that Allah, He is looking at me and I will become accountable to Him for my actions. We need to keep this in mind, especially in our ibadah. Not that out of ibadah that we are unconscious of Allah, but rather, especially in our ibadah, because our ibadah itself teaches us obedience. It teaches us and it fosters this aspect of being sincere and doing more good deeds. If it is that we are not sincere, then what we are actually doing is opening up the doors and the ways for shaitan to tempt us. When shaitan was given that chance and that time that he asked for, until Qiyamah, what he mentioned, لَأُغْوِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ, I will surely misguide all of them, إِلَّا عِبَادَكَ مِنْهُمُ الْمُخْلَصِينَ, except those from amongst your servants who are sincere. Those who are sincere, who will do actions only for the sake of Allah, not for no other reasons, doing it only for the pleasure of Allah. That when they do an action, they want to impress Allah, they do not want to impress anyone else. That is not the objective. That their salah is not to impress those who are at your side, or to impress some particular individual, or to impress the imam or the leader or the scholar who is around. No. That is only done for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what we should tell ourselves when we are doing our actions and our ibadah. That I am going to impress Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I am going to be sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what the Qurbani, it is one of the many lessons of the Qurbani. How it is that we can sacrifice and how we can do things only for the sake of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us. And we will certainly hear more of these as the days come before. لَا يَنَالَ اللَّهَ اللُّحُمُهَا وَلَا دِمَاءُ وَلَكِنْ يَنَالُهُ التَّقْوَى مِنْكُمْ. Now certainly, لَا يَنَالَ اللَّهَ اللُّحُمُهَا, the flesh of the animal, neither the blood of the animals. None of these things reaches Allah. But it is the taqwa, your sincerity, your iman, your commitment to ibadah, your obedience to Allah. This is what reaches Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, as we proceed in these few days before Qurbani, we need to keep our intention pure. Do not slaughter animals because it is cheaper to buy an entire animal. You have a function coming up the road, and there's an easier way to get the meat. Allah has allowed us, as a benefit for this ummah, that we can partake of our Qurbani. But if the niyat is only for meat, especially in an animal that is shared in 7 shares, it interferes with the whole animal itself, and can even cause the Qurbani of those people who are joining in that animal to become corrupted as a result. So, your niyat in doing Qurbani should be only for the sake of Allah. Inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyaya wa mati lillahi rabbil alamin. Inna salati, very my salah, wa nusuki, and my sacrifice, and my living and my dying, lillahi rabbil alamin. This should only be for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, sometimes, a person may look at options, and he may look at the aspect of how much money I'm now going to spend for this. And he is forgetting the essence of the Qurbani, which is sacrifice, which is obedience purely for the sake of Allah. Like what our father Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam and his family did. sacrifice, commitment, submission only for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no other reason. Because which father would want to kill his child? Which mother would want to give up her child to be slaughtered? None. So it is only for the sake of Allah that they committed themselves, and they did that. It showed an aspect of family supporting each other with respect to their ibadat and in their obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the family itself move as one unit with ikhlas. When that is there, then you will not have too much of pulling and tugging and discrepancies within the family itself. So that sincerity should, of course, be first with the individual, but it should also be incorporated with the entire family as they move together in their obedience and in their ibadah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My dear respected brothers and sisters, it has been mentioned in Mathawi the importance of having sincerity from the very beginning, and he uses a little incident to show this. He said that there was this Bedouin person, and he was about to visit the leader of the time, the caliph of the time. And as he was about to leave, it came to him that he should perhaps carry a gift. But what gift can he give the caliph? He has everything, the leader, he has everything. So he decided that, you know what, we have pure water in this part of the land that we are living in. Unlike them living in that area, the hustling and the bustling and the dust and whatnot, they will not have that. So he filled a pitcher of water and he put it on his head. And with that sacrifice and that need of giving him something that is pure and clean, he decided that he is going to take this to the leader. But it was a bit far away, and when he went there and he took down the pitcher, it had dust. It had a sort of a foul smell in it. So the man became confused because he knew that the water that he had running in his stream, in his river, close where he is, it is pure. Understand? And this now has changed. When the leader recognized that this person really had a good intention behind this action of his, he said, listen, he told someone, take this water, put it on one side and fill that with some wealth for him, some jewels, some gold, and give it to him. And before he leave, show him the Tigris river that he can, wash out himself as he leave. Now, the point being, this person left with a good intention. Upon the part, there may be some things that the dust came, it was open to the atmosphere, took a little time, and dust came into the water. It became a bit foul smell as a result of the time and the dust and whatnot. Our amal sometimes are like that. We set off in doing actions if our intention is good from the very beginning, and we do not go off course by changing those intentions. There may be sometimes one or two things that come and play with the mind, play with the heart, but our amal reaches Allah in such a state that He looked at the original intention that we had, and He will give us abundance of thawab and reward as a result. We cannot fool Allah. We cannot deceive Allah. This Bedouin, he came with a good intention. The Amir, he recognized that, and as a result, he rewarded, and he also got an opportunity to bathe in Tigris River, whereby he had an aspect of tazkiyah as well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, on the day of Qiyamah, He looks towards the intention of each and every individual. He looks towards the heart. He sees the amal that was done. Even though there may be some discrepancies within it, our mind changed, we start our salat only for the sake of Allah. It should be maintained like that, to the best of our ability. But sometimes, the thought goes here and the thought goes there. But we try to bring back and refocus on what we are doing for the sake of Allah. Insha'Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at the niyat and He looks at the heart. And even though we will go with broken efforts before Him, our amals reach with so many things, it is hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He would overlook that, seeing our good intentions, and then He would reward us abundantly, and there will be tazkiyah, and that a person may be entered into the Jannah. That is the lesson from that little incident. But sometimes we play games, in that when we are in the face of others and we are in front of others, we do actions as though we are the most pious of people. This individual is looking at me, that one is looking. And truly there may be some aspect of righteousness in that. But remember, if the niyat is not for the sake of Allah, then we are indeed committing a sort of shirk. As the narration informs us, Man salla yura'i faqad ashraka. That whoever performs salah to be seen by others, that person is committing a form of shirk. Or man sama yura'i, and whoever fasts in order to be seen by others, that person is committing a form of shirk. And that can be applied to many other things. That if a person sacrifices and he does the qurbani only to be seen by others, then it can be considered even as though he is committing a form of shirk. So as the qurbani come closer, fix our niyat. When we are taking a share, fix our niyat only for the sake of Allah. Don't look at the easier way out of the whole situation. The best thing is to get involved with your qurbani. Okay? Mashallah, because of stringent reason and the good niyat in the heart that you decide to take a share for, as the case may be, it may cost a little cheaper with respect to financial wise, but if the niyat is good, mashallah, you are fulfilling a duty. If it is not for the correct niyat, careful what we are doing. We are just bypassing Allah, just take that now, go. Nobody can tell me I didn't do qurbani. Understand? Fix the niyat. Make sure it is for a proper niyat, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So as the qurbani comes, fix our niyat only for the sake of Allah, and learn the many lessons that we'll be hearing about it, inshallah. Because if we are doing things only in the face of others, and by our own self we are doing things that is not in conformity to Allah, it shows a lack of sincerity in our amals. The Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in one hadith, he reprimands us, he reprimanded us, and at the same time, it comes as an exhortation to us that we should do amals only for his sake, for the sake of Allah. In one hadith narrated by Hazrat Thawban, he says that the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, La a'lamanna aqwaman min ummati ya'tuna yawm al-qiyamati bihasanatin kamthali jibali tihama bidan. That certainly I know of a group of people from my ummah. They will be from my ummah. They will come on the day of Qiyamah with hasanat, with good deeds. That is in their estimation as large as the white mountains of Tihama. These are a mountain range that extends from north to south, Makkah and Medina. Very large mountain range. So these people on the day of Qiyamah, they will go before Allah thinking that they have accumulated good deeds. Such good deeds as though they are large like mountains. But what will happen? وَجَعَلَهُ اللَّهُ هَبَاءً مَنْثُورًا. Hadith mentioned, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will cause this to be turned into dust, scattered dust. هَبَاءً مَنْثُورًا. Hazrat Ali, Hazrat Qatada, and other tabi'in and mufassirin have explained that هَبَاءً مَنْثُورًا, it refers to such dust like when we see a ray of sun peeping out from or coming from a window, and in that we see fine particles of dust flying about. So that is haba'an manthura. Or like they have explained, if it is that an animal runs on a path and the dust that rises from the ground, that is haba'an manthura. It is not like a pebble, it's not like a stone, a boulder that you can hold on to. Try to hold on to that ray of that we see coming from a crease or a crack, or from the window, from the dust that we see flying about. Could we hold anything? No. So the hadith is telling us that some people from this ummah, they will go on the day of Qiyamah with the expectation of great rewards as large as mountains. But Allah will cause that to be turned into something that has no basis, that would be of no benefit to them, like scattered dust flying about that you cannot hold on to for any benefit. So when Hazrat Thawban heard this, he became perturbed. He was worried, he was concerned, he wanted to know more. So he said, Ya Rasulullah, Messenger of Allah, Sifhim lana, hallihim lana. Describe these people to us. O Messenger of Allah, you explain who these people are to us. Allah nakuna minhum wa nahnu la na'lamu. So that we will not be from amongst them in a condition that we do not know. Tell us who these people are, O Messenger of Allah, so that we will not fall in their plot and do so in a state that we doesn't really know who they are. So tell us, inform us, so that we will stay away from such amals or from such actions that would lead to us being in that state. And we should also have that same desire. Who are these people? We do not want to be like that. On the day of Qiyamah, thinking that we have accumulated a lot of good deeds, only to find that those actions cannot be any fruits for us. We do not want to be like that. The Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he then continued and he said, فَإِمَّهُمْ مِنْ إِخْوَانِكُمْ مِنْ جِلْدَتِكُمْ. As regarding them, they will be from your own brethren, from your own tribe, from your own people. يَأْخُذُونَ مِنَ اللَّيْلِ كَمَا تَأْخُذُونَ. They would also be taking from the night that which you are taking. The muhaddithin have explained that this here, it refers to them even waking up for tahajjud. You will see them coming out for tahajjud and doing certain amals in the night. So there are people who would even wake up for tahajjud and would acquire amals even during the night. They are taken from the night, that which you are taken. But then he explained who they are. And listen well. وَلَكِنَّهُمْ. But they are such people, إِذَا خَلَوْا بِمَحَارِمِ اللَّهِ إِنْتَهَكُوهَا. That when they are now isolated and they are by themselves with the prohibitions of Allah, they violate them. When they are by themselves with actions which they know that will be in disobedience to Allah, they do it, they break the orders of Allah. When they know that this particular action is disliked by Allah, by themselves, no one is there so that they can impress anymore. They are by themselves. They are in the solitude of their room. They are in the darkness of the night. They are in a strange place. Would have gone for some vacation. No one knew them in that. Speak a different language, different color, different dress. No one knew them. So they think they are isolated. So now they can steal a chance and do actions in violation to the orders of Allah. The Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying that when they are isolated and when they are alone with the prohibitions of Allah, they violate them. Therefore, it brings that aspect of being sincere at all times. As Allah tells us, وَإِن تُخْفُوا مَا فِي صُدُورِكُمْ أَوْ تُبْدُوهُ يَعْلَمْهُ اللَّهُ. That if you would conceal that which is in your heart, or you would make it open, Allah, He knows of it. Allah, He is fully aware of those actions. Some would think that no one see me, no one saw me in doing this action. I can't get away with it. Yes, the person might get away in the eyes of others. The impression of him being a very pious person, that still remains. But when he's by himself, engaging in haram things, drugs, alcohol, zina, fornication and adultery, mixing of the sexes without any care and concern, violating the orders of Allah. And today, the avenues for that are abundant. Shaitan, he has opened up many ways, and the influences are great. The television, internet, the phone that we have nowadays, everything is before a person in their own isolation, go in the toilet, and there is full internet. See what they want, talk to whomsoever they want, isolation. If we are sincere only for the sake of Allah, then we will not engage in it, because the consequence of it, and not doing tawbah before we passed away, would be like what the hadith mentioned. We go on the day of Qiyamah thinking, well, I perform from Salah, I have done some fasting, and I even perform Hajj. And every year I did my Qurbani. Everything is in order, man. I think I do more good deeds than bad deeds. And I got a chance. Only to know that because of these actions that were done in isolation, Allah caused all of these things to just be like scattered dust. You cannot grip onto it. There is no basis. It is not fruitful for a person. He cannot benefit from it. Commentators have mentioned again that it is because of a lack of sincerity. When it is that they are by themselves, the whole aspect of the eyes of individuals not being upon them is there. They think that no one is looking at them. No one is going to take them to task. This doesn't influence my status with this individual or that. The thought about Allah looking, and that Allah, He is Hayy La Yamut, that He is alive, He doesn't die, that doesn't exist. That He is also looking at me too, that does not exist. So we consider the viewing of Allah, the seeing of Allah, the hearing of Allah, the knowing of Allah as being insignificant when these sins are being done. The position that Allah holds, we render that as being insignificant when actions of such nature are being done. So on the day of Qiyamah, again in the eyes of people, I go in with a big set of reward as big as mountains. Allah now will make it clear and open. You treated me with insignificance, I'm going to treat your amal with insignificance. I'm going to turn it into dust. I'm going to treat it like nothing, except that we would have done tawbah and we rectify our lives. Do tawbah. We may fall prey to it sometime again in the future, but when we do tawbah, we try to be sincere. Oh Allah, I know I've truly made this mistake. Oh Allah, you know my heart. I really want to stop this bad habit. I want to stop this vice. I want to stop this haram thing that I am doing. Oh Allah, please help me. With all the goodness in our heart and that determination to stop it, do tawbah to Allah. If perchance we pass away, oh Allah, I turn towards you, Allah, Ya Ghafur Rahim. I did something, oh Allah. I know I faulted. You have an excuse. What excuse can we have before Allah? If we continue in this line with insincerity in certain things and doesn't turn to Allah. If later down the road we fall prey to it, immediately again do tawbah, hoping that Allah will overlook the fault. But don't go and do it with the expectation that Allah is Ghafur Rahim, He will forgive man. No. There is no assurance, there is no knowledge of the time of death and what will happen. So my dear respected brothers and sisters, again, as the time of Qurbani comes, let us be sincere in this action of sacrifice. And be willing to sacrifice for the sake of Allah, even as Qurbani comes to an end and it goes, continue that aspect of sacrificing and obedience only for the sake of Allah. Remember the days of Tashriq, in which we will have to do the takbir after the salah. It starts from after the 9th of Dhul Hijjah. That will coincide with coming Tuesday, from after Fajr, and it will continue until the 13th of Dhul Hijjah. That is until Saturday after us. So remember that from Tuesday after Fajr, we should do the takbir, Allahu Akbar, until then. Once it is wajib for the males to say it loud and for the females to say it softly, from Tuesday after Fajr until Saturday after us, inshallah. Also, important thing, fasting on Tuesday is recommended. The Rasul mentioned, Siyamu yawmi arafa ahtasibu ala Allahi ayukaffira sanata allati qabla wa sanata allati ba'dah. That fasting on the day of Arafah, which is coinciding again on next week Tuesday, the 9th, I hope and I expect and I pray to Allah that He will expiate and wipe out 1 year of sin from before and 1 year of sin after. 2 years of sin. That's a reward for fasting on that day. But we can also engage in other acts of ibadah within these days as it come to that point. And I pray and hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He make us from among those who are the mukhlisin, those who are sincere in all of our actions. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Although I never saw His face, so beautiful, bestowed.